Hey guys, it's Roman, and I'm here once again with my good friend Dr. Kareem Samhouri, and we just were having an interesting conversation that I want to let you in on, because it's really kind of something that kind of clears up a lot of what goes on in the fitness industry. And what we're talking about is how your history and where you're coming from kind of really factors into the evolution of your training theories and methodologies and where you draw your influences from. So, originally I was a bodybuilder and an athlete, so my programs now, although they're very reflective for people who don't do those things, are really heavily influenced by that. And that's very, very unique to me and not necessarily to other people who weren't involved in those things. And it's something that's very apparent when you look at the way I structure my programming, whereas Kareem is coming from more of a medical place, and his program is influenced by that. So that's really, really interesting, I think. And one of the things that you'll see in his program is something that isn't necessarily in my program, and it's a lot of multiplanar movement, and this is stuff that he does in physical therapy. So I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about that, and then we're going to tell you why it's really, really beneficial.
Awesome. So here's one of the dimensions of a fat loss program that I think can really produce great results, not only short term, but also looking long term. And this is really a sub-niched area, just as Roman was saying. I think it's great to make sure that, at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're digesting this material, making sense of it in any way that you can. I'm going to try and communicate it in layman's terms to you, and then decide on your own. Really, this is about your body, and you have to see what works for you in the best way possible. So let's get right to it. Most gym programs actually use uniplanar motion for the majority of movements that they do. Let me give you an example. Uniplanar meaning one plane or one direction. So in a bicep curl, we're just moving forward, backwards the entire time, as opposed to the side this way. Okay? So now if we were doing delt raises, now we're moving just side to side, but not forward, backwards, and side to side at the same time. Now, what would happen if we were to just actually integrate the two into one exercise? Let's start with that example. Okay, so now if we did an alternation exercise where we went back and forth, now we're working two planes of movement within a single exercise, and we're taxing two different muscle groups that can work together in daily life. So by doing these things, what we're really gaining is a functional ability in daily life, and we're going to have a greater carryover from our gym program. The reason that's so important to you is because if you pre-activate muscles in the gym, we talk about pre-activation sets all the time when it comes to strength training, right? So activate a muscle, use the muscle, get a better result, right? Yeah. So now what happens if we pre-activate a muscle in our gym routine as that relates to the rest of our day? Now if we pre-activate these muscles in all these different directions of fibers and then we go carry on our day, what actually ends up happening is we use our muscles more. And so you're not only getting the effect from your gym program at that moment or at that time, but you actually get a carryover effect for a long time to come. And I find that to be extremely beneficial. So that's one point. Another is joint health. You see, so long as you keep your body in balance, your body's always going to strive to be better and better and better.
And we just talked about this on my blog the other day. Again, just coming from a bodybuilding place, my body gets banged up. I do use a lot of heavy weight in some of my strength training. Some of the stuff that you will have seen in pound-based fat loss is I have that whole day where it's devoted to lifting heavy, and that's resulted in some tendinitis which Kareem is treating. So using different types of movements and not necessarily just lifting and lowering weights, but also doing rotational stuff is stuff that can help avoid joint injuries, but also strengthen joints and the tendons surrounding them so that injuries are less likely to occur. And that's something that's really important to consider as well.
And that's actually a really good point that you just brought up, though. In terms of lifting heavy, one thing that you can do to factor into that so that you're not losing that strength day that's so important to your program is make your supersets rotationally based. So if you're doing a heavy lunge set, you might do a pivot or rotational lunge from there as the superset to tire out the muscle before you take it for a long rest break and start again. And I think that kind of thinking, that kind of forward thinking is how you integrate the information I'm bringing to you to the program you currently have and make the most of it.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
All right, so guys, I'm going to let you digest a little bit of that information. I've written some stuff below with the video. Well, I haven't written it yet. I'm going to write it as I put this blog post up, but by the time you see the video, I will have written it. Or I have to edit this out, but it's going to be one of the two. So we're going to end here, and I want you to read some stuff, I hope, and then we're going to film some more stuff.